All right. So in theory, we are recording now, so we should be good.
Cool.
All right. So I want to thank my guests. So as you guys can see next to me, or maybe this way, kind of depends on which way the screen is set up. But one of those directions, I have the Jake Watson. And I know it makes you sound way more important when you put the in front of it, kind of like the Ohio State. So figured
Yeah.
I'd throw that in there. And for those of you that don't know who he is, so he is based in Arizona, just like I am. He's a Jiu Jitsu black belt. He's the host of the wildly popular OpenGuardCast. He was also, back in 2013, he was the toughest kid in the world, also known as the Pan Kids champion. And you won silver at Pans last year, right?
So, okay, in 2013, I was actually juvenile. So I wasn't the toughest kid. I actually sucked at Pan Kids. I was really not good. I didn't get good at jiu-jitsu until blue belt. And I don't even think I was good back then. But last year, it was 2018, I got second. 2019, I lost to Roberto Jimenez in the first round of the tournament.
I mean,
it was rough.
Look,
go.
I mean, if that's who you're losing to, I think you're doing okay.
I still didn't want to lose.
No, I mean, for sure. But, you know, when you're competing at that level, obviously it's a little bit tougher.
Yeah, it was a rough match. His pressure is like, imagine rolling down a hill and also someone's putting their hand over your mouth while you're rolling down the hill. So you just can't breathe and it's getting faster and somehow he's getting less tired as time goes on. So it's pretty rough, definitely.
Yeah. And I know that you've competed against one of my coaches a few times, Tiago Azo.
And I like him a lot. I respect him a great deal.
Yeah, he's a good dude. And I know that, like, when I roll with him, I feel like a car backed onto my chest. I'm just like sitting there. I'm just, waving around like nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, he's like, don't give up underhooks. Just don't give up underhooks. And then he gets them anyway. And you're like, what the? I did everything I could. I love Tiago. He's, it's before me and him ever competed. We only competed against each other in the finals of the Absolute at an Arizona State Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation tournament. It's not Arizona State, but you get my drift. Yeah. We have our own federation here in Arizona, and I competed against him in the finals of the Absolute, and me and him had already joked, like, we became friends way before we ever competed against each other. So when we competed against each other, it was like funny. Like I like hugged him, and then it was a really intense match. And then afterwards we were just friends again. I was like, oh, I love this. I love that I can just be friends with people in Arizona and we can compete against each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. I was there and I watched that. And initially, I was kind of like, screw that Jake Watson dude. Like, he beat Azo, but then Azo was like, no, he's a good guy. He's okay. Okay, I guess I can like him.
That's good. Good team camaraderie, though. To immediately hate me, man.
Yeah,
you guys are tight knit.
That's how we roll at GB. I can't help it.
Hey, bro, I respect it, but also maybe come ask me. Hey, are you like a bad dude? And then I'll be like, no, I don't think so. And my mom doesn't think so.
No, you're definitely a good dude, and that's definitely one of the reasons why we're talking. But I also know you have a fight coming up, right?
Yes, sir. I'm actually leaving on Thursday for Fight2Win 155 in Philadelphia.
Nice. And co-main event, and I would assume that you're fighting someone pretty significant in jiu-jitsu if you're the co-main event, right?
He's okay. He's pretty okay. Yeah. Rafael Lovato Jr. Yeah, it's a huge opportunity, and it's a really awesome. It's going to be an awesome experience to share the mat with him. But moreover, it's kind of interesting. There's like a storyline actually that I'm not sure if Rafael even knows who my coach is, but Andre Maracaba is my coach, and they used to train together a long time ago. Andre helped him prepare for his world championship victory, actually, which was so significant in that he was one of the second American ever to win the world championship as a black belt adult. And also just, I'm first year at black belt, new generation of Americans. And he's like the OG, I mean, BJ Penn's the OG, but he's one of them, man. It's really, really cool. He's a pretty nice guy too. I never talked to him, but I've grappled Victor Hugo, and I've actually been roommates with Victor Hugo at a Fight2Win tournament in Hawaii. So me and Victor know each other, and we're pretty cool. But I haven't met Rafael yet. But I'm really excited. I'm stoked.
So let me say, obviously we're a weekish out. What does your training look like getting ready for a fight like this?
Training doesn't really. My training in jiu-jitsu has pretty much stayed the same throughout my whole career. It's always just trying to find new ways to fix holes in my game and to expand my game. So I don't like to adhere to the idea that you do like how like a major judo professional or judo Olympian might do like 2 or 3 throws. And you'll see him like, man, this guy's got a great Uchimata. This guy's got a great Harai Goshi. And the other throws, they like, it's not that they don't know other throws. It's that they're not like going to go for them at a high level all the time. And I'm not going to speak for every judo athlete, but that's just what you see most of the time. And I don't like to adhere to like I don't want to be the kind of guy that's like, that guy's a blank guy. You know what I mean? Some of the best athletes in our sport, it's like, oh, that guy's a Berimbolo guy, or that guy's a footlock guy. I was called footlock guy for like blue belt until brown belt. And I was okay with it because I really was footlock guy. I want to be known as the kind of athlete that was able to chameleon into any game in any style and be able to beat it. And that's like my end goal for jiu-jitsu. So that doesn't really change. And it's helped me out a lot with my preparation for fights. And I feel like I've grown more comfortable grappling different people. For instance, I mean, I fought Arnaldo Maidana, and then Ronaldo, and then Hudson, and now I'm fighting Rafael. All three of those dudes grapple different. And I don't feel any more or less nervous to approach those situations simply because of how I approach jiu-jitsu. The real big difference I took this fight on a month's notice, which is all jiu-jitsu matches, which isn't a big deal. It's not like a UFC fight where you have to like, it's, you know, like tens of thousands of dollars, or if you're in the UFC, probably like $100. I'm just kidding. But, it's not like that. So my strength and conditioning is something I've definitely always struggled with. And I actually have made big plans after fighting at IBJJF Pan Ams, made big plans to make an improvement on that. But the way I saw it leading up to this fight was, okay, how much stronger am I going to get? How much stronger am I going to get in 2 weeks? You know, I might as well keep myself healthy, eat healthy and stay, you know, fixing my sleep schedule and doing everything like that so I can give myself the best chance. Cause I feel like if I'm going to lift hard, try to get stronger 2 weeks before an event, it's probably not worth the wear and tear or something possibly happening during weightlifting, anything like that. Moreover, I just want to go in there with the right game plan and just believing in the abilities, you know?
Yeah. And I know, you know, different people have different approaches. Some guys kind of create even a mini fight camp, even if they take a fight out, you know, a fight a month out. And some guys, you know, like Gordon Ryan, who's like, I'm always ready. Call me tomorrow and I'm ready to go for a fight. Which kind of camp do you fall into? Are you kind of just always ready to go? Or
I'll agree with Gordon on that. I'll agree with Gordon on that. I mean, jiu-jitsu is not something. I think that there's definitely a big benefit to treating things like a fight camp. I think if it was something like ADCC, I would treat it like a fight camp where there's no way you can really approach an ADCC style match without having like a semblance of wrestling or cardio or knowledge of a game you're not familiar with. And really it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Sometimes a jiu-jitsu super fight can be a sprint. Like you can just prepare for it. But ADCC is like, you need to have the longevity. You need to be able to go like, maybe you might fight ADCC to win it. You might fight a total of like an hour and 20 minutes of jiu-jitsu. Like that's a lot of rolling for one tournament. Whereas a super fight, I'm going to fight Rafael for at the most 7 minutes. Like that's the maximum amount of time I will be on the mat actively participating in a jiu-jitsu match with Rafael Lovato, minus, you know, whatever, fixing the gi or getting back on the mat if we roll off. I don't know. But I think the bottom line is I don't really believe that I need to dedicate like a portion of a month or two to a super fight, unless it's like I have that time and I don't have anything else going on. Because keep in mind, like I just got back from Pan Ams. I'm going to fight Rafael. I'm going to keep on competing after Rafael. It's not, I can't really do a fight camp, because then it's just multiple fight camps throughout the year. I like to think about just continually improving my jiu-jitsu and game planning. Really, I think jiu-jitsu, a lot of people could get better at it, is like really dedicating, okay, if you're going to dedicate anything to one fight or one super fight or one match, you should probably think about what is your game plan going into that match? How are you going to counteract what they do? You know what I mean? Like how Rafael has his probably game plan versus me. He probably studies me and I'm studying Rafael. So that's what I did against like Felipe Andrew. That's what I did against Hudson. That was what won me the fight against Hudson, was just really like, I spent a whole week. I had a notebook. It's actually right here. This is the wrong notebook, but it was a notebook just like this that had notes on Hudson, and I wrote them down every day and I visualized it. And then I went out there and I was able to successfully implement it. I think if people can focus on game planning. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you like literally like, you know, go on YouTube or Flow Grappling or something and you're like watching stuff and you're like, okay, when he's going to, you know, try to, you know, pass my close guard, he's going to, you know, go for the knee slice, or he, you know, does the Toriando pass, or he, Like you think through it, and then you think through, all right, I got to do this grip, right? Do you think like get down to that granular level?
I don't know if I get that specific. It's more because I know, like, I look at things in stages. At the start of a fight, you have two options. You're either going to pull guard, or well, I guess you have more options than that. But the big two ideas are pull guard or takedown, right?
Yeah.
And other than that, you can like wait for them to pull guard if you want. But let's take the Hudson fight, for example. I knew that he likes to jump guard or jump flying armbar. So I was like, okay, cool. So I'm going to sit. I'm going to sit guard. Even if he doesn't sit with me, I'm going to sit. And then I looked at matches where what he did when people sat. And then I would see, okay, he likes to do like a knee cut to his left. Okay, cool. I'll immediately go for De La Hiva, or I'll get under the leg. And getting under the leg is a big part of my game plan for a lot of matches because I'm really, really comfortable there. And I feel like once I get under the leg, then I know a couple of their options. For me, the big thing is just seeing a lot of their major attacks and how they deal with some of my attacks. And if I can look at those, I feel like from there it's improv. You know, no one does the same exact thing every single match. There are variables that get thrown at them. So if I can look at those big things, and then if I need to go more specific, but I only go as specific as I need to, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
for me, sure. In my head.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a step back a little bit. So let's go back to, you know, little Jake, and I think you did some other martial arts right before you got into jiu-jitsu. Is that right?
Yes,
so
I did.
Talk us through, you know, other martial arts, and then how you actually got into jiu-jitsu, and then go a little bit forward from there.
Okay, so let me set the scene. I love telling this story because I mean I have this big tattoo on my arm for my mom, who's actually my stepmother, but I was adopted by her in January 2019. She is a lovely woman who came into my life when I was 7 years old. And when she did, I had just started karate. I saw, okay, maybe see if you can remember this. You ever seen UFC 65? Remember when George St. Pierre knocked out Matt Hughes with the head kick?
Yes.
Huge moment, right? I saw that as a kid, and I thought in my head, I was like, there's no way I'm not going to do MMA. I was like, I need to fight. Like, I was like 7 years old. I was like, I got to fight. My dad was like, you're nuts. But I was like, no, Dad, I want to fight. I want to be like George St. Pierre. So George St. Pierre was like my hero when I was a kid. So my dad was like, okay, I'm going to do the conventional thing. I'm going to put him in karate and see if he really likes anything striking, you know, and I loved it. And so when I did karate from 8 to 11, or Taekwondo, sorry, we loosely said karate. And you know what's funny is they taught American freestyle Taekwondo, but the sign on the business said karate. So I wasn't like, you know, I was misled. But Eric Mendoza was my sensei there, and he was really awesome guy. He later came to train with me in the future, but I really wanted to be an MMA fighter. So I got my black belt, and in, you know, Americanized Taekwondo, you get your black belt really young. So I was young, and just get that out of the way. People make fun of me about that still, but black belt in jiu-jitsu now. So I
you made up for it.
Well, I made up for it. But it really taught me how to, there was a lot of benefits. If you want to get into that, I can tell you the long-term benefits that doing that at a young age helped me with. But I met Clayton Carpenter at a tournament, a jiu-jitsu tournament, because we did jiu-jitsu 1 day a week at this Taekwondo academy. And when I met him, and he actually fights for LFA now. He's a professional MMA fighter. He's still on, me and him still train together at Maracaba BJJ. And he armbarred me. And I remember being just devastated. Like, I had never lost like that before. I was like a 2-time state champion in Taekwondo sparring. And I won like a bunch of tournaments as a Taekwondo student. But then I went to jiu-jitsu and I got destroyed, and it killed me. I quit jiu-jitsu that day for like 30 minutes. I quit jiu-jitsu. And then on the way home, I decided I wanted to fight again. And then Clayton at the second tournament beat me again. And this was like months later. And then him and his dad and my dad exchanged phone numbers. And from then it just slowly blossomed into like a friendship. And then I went to Scottsdale and trained with him at the Lions Den. And we would travel to, like, eventually I started taking boxing and Muay Thai and wrestling and jiu-jitsu all at the same time. I was doing like MMA style, professional MMA style fight camps for pancration tournaments. And you know what pancration is? Are you familiar?
It's the stuff that Ken Shamrock used to do back in the day that was like a precursor to some of the UFC kind of fights.
Yes, yes. And for the people listening that don't understand like the rules of intermediate kids pancration, it's basically full MMA with shin guards, 4-ounce MMA gloves, and you can't hit to the head, but you can hit to the body. You can kick, knee, and elbow the body. Like, it's just all body, legs, and it's basically MMA. And you can do tournaments like this because the damage taken is not in your face or head. You can do like a tournament. So we would do I would do 3 fights, like a jiu-jitsu tournament, but they were MMA style intermediate pancration fights. And we would go around the country just doing that. And then eventually we went to Greece, and I was convinced in my head I wanted to be an MMA fighter. And man, I was competing in every discipline. I did Muay Thai. I did Muay Thai Nationals in Iowa twice in 2 years in a row. And then I did the Muay Thai National Championship in Arizona as well when they had it here. And then I did Junior Golden Gloves. And then I did 3. This is kind of funny. I went on an Indian reservation, and I was doing unsanctioned kids full contact head strikes MMA with no headgear. And Herb Dean was the referee. And it's unsanctioned on an Indian reservation at a casino. And I did 3 fights like that. And there was like an underground league that eventually got, the cops got involved. And
as they probably should have.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's totally illegal. And I never knew. I was just like, yeah, we're doing fights. I was like, it's cool. And I thought I was like a UFC fighter because I technically was doing UFC fights with the same rules, same time, same regulation, everything. It was literally like 3 5-minute rounds. It was nuts. And looking back on it, it's just really like crazy that I was like 14, 15 years old doing that. But then eventually I had been doing well, 14 to 15 years old in those regions. We were training really, really hard. I had a lot of faith in, like who was teaching me, and I would listen and I would work hard, but I was kind of just going through the motions after a while. And I didn't really know if I actually wanted to do MMA after a while. And I was in school. I was very tired all the time. I would train. I didn't really have a social life neither. And this is leading into jiu-jitsu, by the way, if I'm not rambling on.
You're good. We're following the winding road.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay.
So after a while, I'm 16 years old, and I actually had just won IBJJF Pans. And it wasn't like I actually, I feel like I just had the tournament of my life that day. I won, it was 4 fights, and I was a juvenile. And this is 2013, what you're talking about before. And I won, and it was just like, it was my day to win. But after that tournament, because I hadn't worked really hard, just because I was going through the motions and I was starting to become unmotivated, I noticed that I could win. I thought in my head, I can win without working hard. You know what I mean? It was very arrogant of me as a child. And I call myself a child, even though I was 16, because man, I didn't feel smart. And I know I wasn't smart. But my professor, Andre, he's a very blunt and very honest man. And he's been there for me since I was 12 years old. He told me, basically, he had a very, very harsh conversation with me. He said, do you understand that you don't deserve to be the champion, and yet you still are? And he was like, there was a man named Matt Zilla Gillette, who you might be familiar with, Arizona black belt, who was on his lunch break, had a cut over his eye, and was sick, and he was training. And I was getting off the mat to go home. And he's like, do you see that guy? That guy deserves everything you have. And he's going to get it. And I want him to get it. He's like, do you even want to get it? And then I basically took that as Andre telling me like, wow, you don't work hard enough, right? Andre was trying to protect me from what I was going to become. He wasn't trying to condemn me for what I was currently doing. You know what I mean? And so I go home, I'm depressed for a week because my coach just said I don't deserve to be a world champion or anything like that, but that's not what he said. That's not what he meant. It's kind of what he said, but yeah, I was depressed for like a whole week. I barely even wanted to go to school. And then it just hit me one day when I woke up to go to my intro to video production class because I had decided I wanted to be a news anchor. And I was trying to rationalize in my head how I was going to make time for it and also do jiu-jitsu. And then it happened in my head. I was like, oh man, I was like, I don't even want to do that anymore. I just want to do jiu-jitsu every day. And ever since that decision, it was after that I went to Nogi Worlds and I got double gold because I shed everything. All of MMA, I didn't do it anymore. I didn't do video production. I did none of it. All I did was jiu-jitsu. And I won double gold at Nogi Worlds. And it was like the most poetic win because I was like, wow, I really quit everything and it worked out, And ever since then, I've just slowly gotten more in love with jiu-jitsu as every day went on. And I've never actually ever even close to looked back on what could have been. No, it's like I have everything I could possibly want. And I'm really, really grateful now. So that's my journey from Kid Jake pretty much until now. I haven't done anything different since I graduated high school. Not a thing.
So let me ask you this. You obviously talk about a couple of different parts of your life. And if I'm not mistaken, you're currently the number 7 black belt at your weight division. Is that right? According to Flow Grappling?
Yes, sir. I'm the I like to say number 1 American.
There we go. All right.
It makes me sound closer. I'm just
so
kidding. But yeah, number
so,
7.
So you're the number 1 American middle heavy black belt in the whole wide world. Was there ever a point, or was there a point where you thought like, damn, like I could really like make this a thing. I could really be great at this.
You know, it was actually way before I ever even became brown belt. I want to say I was purple belt, and I got it was before my tournament at Worlds. And I remember having a conversation with my professor Andre after I had lost to Gutierrez Barbosa for the second time. I went to the Las Vegas Open, I lost to him again. And then I went to San Diego Open, I lost him again. And I was just like, I can't beat this guy. If I fight this guy, I'm not going to win. And Andre basically said, like, what is your goal? Like, what is your goal with jiu-jitsu? And I said, Andre, I just want to do what you do. I want to be able to put on my gi, and that's my work uniform for the rest of my life. And he's like, all right, so what is stopping you from that? And I'm like, well, nothing. He's like, no, you're stopping you from doing that. So you need to do it. Like, if you want to do it, you have to love it. Like, you got to go in there and you got to accept that, like, hey man, you love jiu-jitsu. It's what you do. It's a part of your identity. So go out there and grapple like it's a part of your identity. And then at Worlds, I did a lot. Like, I felt just so confident, so much better, because I realized, wow, it's part of my identity. I'm just like, I'm living the lifestyle that my coach is living. And my coach is like, he's always been like a father figure to me. So that was the moment I realized I could do it. As soon as I made up in my mind to listen to my coach, I basically was like, wow. And he's not like he was telling me, hey, Jake, be an instructor. He's like, hey, Jake, figure out what you want to do and then do it, and like actually do it. That's what successful people do. They do it. They go out. They're not maybeers. They're doers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let me say this. You mentioned earlier that you recently became a black belt. What are some of the key takeaways that you've taken away, I guess, in this journey from, again, little Jake to now, the number 1 American in the whole world?
Well, now I feel like I don't want to say that anymore. But so when I was a kid, I was so hung up on the result, and I was so hung up on my expectations of what I could do. And it was all bent on what people thought about me. I grew up in an environment and around people that fostered a lot of unhealthy habits and a lot of unhealthy mindsets. And a lot of my training was the reason why I kind of fell into a lull, like I talked to before when I was a kid, and why I started training more sporadically and I wasn't really working very hard, is because I wasn't working for myself. And when I was a kid, I wasn't working for myself. I felt like I was working for people's expectations of what I should do, or I was working for something I didn't even know if I wanted to do. What changed when I was, let's say, teenage Jake, was I actually wanted to do jiu-jitsu, and I really wanted to win. I wanted to be a world champion. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to yada, 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 yada. But I mean, really, and I mean, some people are turned off by this and some people don't like hearing about it, but it was really my walk with Jesus Christ that changed my entire perception of everything I do. And I care very much about changing the way people negatively see the gospel. And when I perform and when I compete, I have to realize that I don't control anything. And that's one thing that changed for me really, really big at black belt, was I can't control anything that happens. Especially coronavirus was a huge reminder of that. Like, I was supposed to fight Roberto Jimenez at a Who's Number One event. Like, the week coronavirus happened, I got my plane ticket. I got the contract signed and everything. And then boom, it was canceled. And it was really jarring. And that was pretty much a big personification of that lesson for me. But when I turned black belt was a really huge moment. It was the culmination of so many years of work and so many years of dedicating my life to it. It didn't hit me until like midway through the rolls of me getting my black belt in that class that I started crying when I was going with Matt. Actually, I started like bawling my eyes out because I realized I had did it. But like I said, the big lesson was that I can't control what my opponent will do. I can't control how I'm going to feel that day. All I can do is set a standard for how I'm going to approach everything I do with my life. If you can always rise to meet a standard. And that's the reality. It doesn't matter if you say, hey, I'm going to go to this tournament, right? I'm going to win. If you say I'm going to win, you're taking out the possibility of you losing, which is something that keeps you very much alive. And when you set a standard, you say, my standard is I'm going to go out there, regardless of how I'm feeling. I'm going to be sharp. I'm going to really process everything. I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to give everything I have in this match. You are going to dramatically increase, in my opinion, I shouldn't say you, I should say in my experience, it has dramatically increased the confidence I have in myself, because I think that the reality and being able to approach things with a sense of realism is very powerful, if that makes sense. So when I tell anybody, hey, what is your advice for competition, right? I say, hey, go out there, set a standard, because you don't know how you're going to feel. You don't know what that guy's going to do to you. But if you set a standard that you're going to make your grips, all right, cool, you're going to make your grips. Okay, you're gonna be confident. All right, cool. Let's be confident. Let's not worry too hard. Let's pray. Let's do whatever you have to do to get yourself in the right mode. Then you'll be able to rise to your standard, as opposed to setting an expectation you know nothing about. It's like when people say, I'm gonna lose 90 pounds by 3 months. It's like, what if you don't do that? Then you're disappointed. What if you say, hey, I'm gonna follow this plan. I'm gonna set a standard. I'm gonna really do my best to follow this plan every moment that I need to follow that plan. Then you're setting immediate goals that compound over time, and then eventually you're going to meet your goal anyway. You know what I mean? I think that you got to take the same thing into your faith, into your walk with Christ, into how you treat yourself, treat your mentality, treat your friends, how you perform as an athlete, how you do your job in this podcast. You set a standard. You didn't know if I was going to come on this podcast and be crazy. I could have been like a hateful dude, and you'd be like, dude, Jake is not what he seems like on Instagram.
Well, it totally would have gone back, right? Because I said my initial thing is I didn't like you because you beat Ozzo. So I was like, oh, well, I guess that was right.
I knew it. I knew this guy was awful the whole time. Tiago tried to tell me.
Awesome. So let's talk about this. I want to kind of think, you talked about kind of the mindset and, kind of laying expectations for yourself and thinking through what you're going to do at your next tournament or, going along in your life. What does the actual physical part of it look like? So, getting ready for this fight that you have, next week, what is your, strength and conditioning look like? What do you do?
Usually, and like I said, I struggle with this. So recently I haven't been doing it. I had been struggling with sleep. So sleep has been, I don't know why, but ever since I was a kid, younger than even when I started martial arts, I've had a very hard time sleeping. I would stay up until like 3 or 4 a.m. with my mind like racing, and I would go to school, and I would just like not sleeping well would be something that I constantly I thought that was like normal. And when I became an athlete, I thought I would have an easier time sleeping, but eventually it just was the same. So I'm starting to actually dial down my sleep and get like 8 hours of sleep a night, which is fantastic. But it's something that I've always struggled with. And now that I have that kind of all locked down, I want to treat my body a lot better. I do a lot of stretching, a lot of rehabilitation. My nutrition is something that I focus on very hard, especially now. It used to not be. I used to struggle with that too. But the reality is that I'm not exactly the athlete's athlete. I have not ever really been super great at my nutrition or my strength and conditioning. But when I am on it, and what I'm going to be doing after this fight, because I'm going to be honest, I haven't been able to whip myself into shape. It's 100% on me. But leading up to Pans, I dipped back and forth between strength and conditioning, and my nutrition was okay. But now that the Lovato fight is coming up, I had already gotten back on it. I'm not saying that, I'm doing it for the Lovato fight. I'm doing it for myself, but it was something that I didn't really do very well, and I haven't been doing, and I'm not going to strengthen condition, for this week, because like I said, why am I going to introduce something new and maybe get sore or hurt or something like that when I could focus on it after the fact? I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in my match. I think that a good proper game plan and everything that I can actually prevent will be better. But after feeling Gustavo Batista at Pans this last weekend, that's when I realized I'm neglecting this part of my game. So leading up to this fight, it doesn't look like anything at all, really.
Yeah.
But what it usually looks like is I follow, are you familiar with Electrum Performance?
I'm not.
Electrum Performance is the main strength and conditioning program of Atos Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
So they sponsor the OpenGuardCast, and they have been just so awesome to us. We've had Alex Turner on the show a couple times now. We had Alex Bryce on the show. We've had a lot of his athletes. We've had Andre Galvão, and they all attest to how amazing it is. And it really is structured very, very, it's like scientific. And I hate to use that word in anything but an observative sense, but it really is. They break it down into the actual sports science of what can be best for jiu-jitsu situations and what, muscles you're going to be working in certain situations. Not down to like specifics of like, oh, you're in quarter guard, you need your outer hip. It's like you should be working that anyway. It's like total strength with prevalence to jiu-jitsu, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's sort of jiu-jitsu focus. Yeah, I not too long ago I interviewed a Dr. Eric Corum, and he worked with a bunch of NCAA football players and that sort of thing. And then a year and a half ago, he got into jiu-jitsu, and so he then knew all the stuff he knew about being a strength and conditioning coach towards jiu-jitsu and created some jiu-jitsu focused kind of workouts. And he said basically the same thing. Yes, you still have to work your body, and you just have to tweak some of the ways that you work out. And it's not generally just, International Chest Day is Monday or doing CrossFit. It's more doing some specific types of workouts. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really love it. I have set goals for myself. So I'm I'm enthralled by strength and conditioning. When I was in high school, I couldn't squat the bar. I couldn't bench the bar. I was 14. I was like 120 pounds and I was like 6 feet tall. So I couldn't squat or bench the bar. And I tore my body weight doing I tore my lunge. My goodness. Sorry. I can't speak English right now. I tore my groin doing my goodness. That is awful. You hear that? My brain just shut off, ladies and gentlemen. I pulled my groin doing a body weight lunge. My bad. That was an awful sentence. But yes, that actually happened. So I was 14 years old when that happened. So now I have these amazing goals that I'm trying to hit with strength and conditioning. And now I'm 189 pounds. I know a lot of people think I'm like 210 pounds, which is ridiculous just because I wear a gi and I'm tall.
You're a tall dude. So, I mean, it would make sense.
But I'm skinny guy,
Yeah.
But, like a lot of people at tournaments like, oh, you're signing up super heavy. I'm like, no, you're joking right now. I would get eaten by those people. But I'm setting goals. Like I want to have I want to have the strongest grips in jiu-jitsu. I want to have the absolute strongest grip strength in all of jiu-jitsu to where people will like, I make a grip and it's my grip and it's very, very hard to break, after feeling Gustavo Batista and the amount of strength and power that he's able to generate and just the unstoppable force-like pressure that he generates, I have to not neglect my strength and conditioning anymore. I also love sumo deadlifts. Those are like my favorite lifts. They're so sick. They make me feel so powerful. Just lifting something heavy off the ground with a power stance like that.
Any lift that makes you feel tough is always a good lift. I like cleans for that specific reason. Like it looks cool on video. Like it makes you feel tough just to do it.
And you're just lifting something super heavy off the ground and powering it up to your elbows. It's like, that's so sick. Power snatch too. Snatches are so dope because you're like, it's like just so like you just lifted this whole thing above your head, And
it's almost like it kind of like floats in midair too. So you got that going on. Yeah.
And you lift it above, you have to drop down below it, correct? So you lift it up a certain height and then you squat below it and you lock your shoulders into place. Okay, cool.
All right. Lift. So you talked about you've tried at least to get your nutrition on point. Tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
So prior to PANS, like I said, it would be like incredibly sporadic. I would either eat, there was one time where I was eating like 1,300 calories a day, like not enough at all. I would just be busy training and I would get lost in the day. And then I would just be like, oh man, I didn't even eat. And then the other day I would eat like 3,000 calories, 4,000 calories. What I've been doing and making a habit of is every day I eat 6,000 calories. So my macros are broken down and I'll pull them up right now. My macros are broken down into a certain amount. It's like I have 700 grams of carbs, 400 grams of protein, and 180 grams of fat. That's the number. And I try to incorporate as many reds and greens into my diet as possible. I'm eating foods that I worked with Natalia Chantry, who is a nutritionist. She's the wife of Samir Santry, who is the head referee of the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League. And she helped me out. She taught me a lot. But eventually I had moved out of my parents' house and I couldn't afford being under her plan anymore because it's a monthly price, you know? And so I was like, hey, thank you so much. You know, that you taught me so much. And I've been using everything she said and it makes me feel really good. I eat a lot of avocado. I eat beets, oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, beets are the single most disgusting thing I think in the entire food kingdom, whatever you call the food kingdom, but it tastes like, and spirulina, it tastes like dirt. Like that's seriously like that is earth that you're eating. I eat ginger powder. So and I eat raw eggs. So that's another thing too. I eat
Rocky style.
Yeah, 2 raw eggs a day. So I'll eat 4 in the morning and then 2 in the afternoon. But 4 is I cook them in the morning with spinach, and I eat the 2 in the afternoon. I can tell you my whole diet because I eat the same thing every single day, and it's really easy to eat because it's all delicious. So it doesn't really get old.
So you mentioned you eat 6,000 calories a day, which is roughly 3 times what the normal person eats in a day, right? So what did a typical day look like for you as far as training goes?
Okay, so let's take a Monday. So a Monday would be wake up, eat breakfast. Is a pretty big breakfast. Go to the gym, not the gym, the academy. I'll call it the academy and the gym for the sake of differentiating the two. But go to the academy, do class, clean the gym, the academy. Come home, eat, lift, eat again, back to the academy to teach the kids class and do the night class, drink a protein shake, clean the gym. On the way home, I'm eating what would be dinner. And then before bed, I'll have another protein shake, a Greek yogurt, and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich so that I can put on weight because I burn, I think I burn roughly 5,000, 4,000 calories a day, which is kind of rough to eat that much.
Yeah.
But that's like an average Monday. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I teach a class after the night class. So I'm there at the gym later. So I try to take a nap those days because I know I'm going to be at the gym longer. So I take a nap in the afternoon instead of lift. But I'd rather lift in the morning, but it's kind of hard because I'm still getting used to my sleep schedule. So I like waking up at like 6 a.m. is kind of tough. And I know a lot of people listening to this are probably going to be like, I wake up at 3. And it's like, I get it. You guys are way stronger than me. I've never been good at sleep. Waking up at like, 7 a.m. for me personally, it's just kind of hard because my body hurts and I'm tired from whatever I've been doing the day before.
Yeah, and I think it depends on how you can lay out your schedule. If you can go to sleep at 9 or 9:30, like I do, I wake up at 4:30 without an issue. If you're not going to sleep till 11 or 12, it's going to be damn hard to go to sleep. Wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like you need more than that.
Yeah, for sure. It's usually like if I go to bed at 10:30, then waking up at 6 is like 7 hours and 30 minutes or 8 hours. And if I'm taking a nap, like if I work out in the morning and I do a lift in the morning and then I do class and then I go home, I can take a nap in the afternoon and then like the cycle will repeat, but I have to get in that flow and that flow is tough. I would ideally like to wake up in the morning and lift in the morning because then I get it out of the way. I start my day off with a hard lift, but it's something I got to work my way up towards because I am not, I joke, I'm not smart, but I'm just not very good at managing that morning time. Usually I wake up and I just eat and I want to go to the gym, but we'll see. I'm going to do it after the Lovato fight for sure. I'm going to improve myself.
Yeah, I mean, again, everybody has different ways of doing it, and it's all about finding the right method or the right process for you. Mm-hmm. So that works. So what do you do as far as, mobility, flexibility, that sort of stuff?
I've actually been looking into more mobility stuff. I used to do more of it, but I don't. I do mostly just conventional stretching. I try not to stretch myself too far beyond where I'm strong because I don't want to introduce myself to a new range of motion and not build strength in it. So I try to I try to stretch more while I'm lifting, because I know that, like, let's say you don't want to go too low on a back squat because it'll round your spine at the bottom, correct? So if you go too far around your spine at the bottom, then you're introducing pain on your back. So you keep it to a uniform bending. So you want to introduce yourself to that range of motion. If you go anything beyond that, it might be unnecessary, correct?
As far as I know, but again, you know, there's always, if for one study that finds this way, there's always two other studies that say the complete opposite thing. That's sometimes the hard part when you're looking at nutrition and diet and exercise and those sorts of things.
That's true. And it's something that I struggle with as well, because I want to keep myself healthy. I've remained injury-free relatively throughout my whole career. I tore my LCL at Pan Am's in 2018 in my second fight. And that was rough, but that wasn't the fault of not stretching. That was my knee getting popped in a submission. And other than that, I've been relatively okay. I want to keep myself safe from like groin tears, and my hips are very tight, my hip flexors. And I've been told that's from doing the split stretch. For like, the split stretch can hurt your hips. And I didn't know that, but I've been doing that since I was like 8 years old. So maybe I'll look into that. I'm going to research it and see the validity of that statement, because if that is true, then I might want to stop doing that, because my hips hurt. It's not like I have any less range of motion in them. It just hurts to go to those ranges of motion, if that makes sense. Like, I can't not physically go that way, but it's just sore or tight. And I want to increase my longevity. I don't do steroids or any performance enhancing drugs. And I never have, and I never will. So I want to do it the natural way, because I want people to be able to see that you don't need those things to improve your training. You can just put in extra effort and you can do everything right and you'll still do it. And that goes with, you know, stretching and doing recovery stuff. Mobility, I really want to look into, because if I can do those on like my active recovery days, that'd be so beneficial. But I don't do any of those right now.
Okay. And I appreciate the lead in. You're like the perfect guest. So you talked a little bit about the bombas. So, you know, it kind of goes down the path of supplements and those sorts of things. So obviously you don't do any steroids. Are there any supplements that you take?
So I do, do you ever heard of those Dimetized ISO whey proteins? Yeah. So I take a ISO whey protein, which is just basically whey protein without carbs and without fat, right? And it has no maltodextrin in it. It's basically, I mean, it's certified for sport. Every supplement I take, which is like 3, it's all certified for sports, so that USADA is okay with the usage of them. They are not cheating. It's my big thing, is I will never get popped by USADA, because I will never take a steroid. I will never take a performance enhancing drug. If I'm required, like if a doctor prescribes me, I've heard that this is a possibility. If I get like some horrible injury and a doctor's like, hey, dude, you have to take this testosterone, otherwise your knee won't heal, I will take competition off, and I will stop training for competition until that is completely out of my system and my body returns to how it was before I got injured, because I will not use that. I don't respect it. You know, I don't respect cheating in any sense of the word. It's just, I think it's low integrity. And I'm not bashing anybody who's been caught by it, because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to spread love and spread the gospel, but it's just not respectable in my opinion. As far as supplements go, I take that ISO whey for the protein shake during the day. Before I go to bed, I take casein protein by the same company, by the same Dimetized people. I take spirulina powder, ginger powder, beetroot powder, which is basically just powdered forms of foods you can find. Yeah. Beetroot, like I said, disgusting, absolutely atrocious. What else do I take? Bee propolis. Sorry, it's bee propolis, and I put 15 drops of it in kombucha every day. I have kombucha in the morning instead of coffee. And dude, kombucha I used to hate, but it's grown on me, man. I used to hate it so bad, but I kind of like it now.
They make they're starting to add some good flavors to it. I had a jalapeno one like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, hey, this thing's legit. Like, it's.
Did you say jalapeno?
Jalapeno kombucha was awesome. It was like jalapeno, and I think it had like mango or passion fruit or something like that with the jalapeno.
What are you talking about? That sounds awful.
No, it was. I thought it was too, and my wife brought it home, and she was like, "You got to try it." And I was like, "All right, well, you know what the hell?" And I was like, hey, it's not too bad.
You're like, wow, I'm not, am I crazy? That's hilarious. That's now I gotta, damn it. Now I'm going to try it. Other than that, I have maca powder.
Mm-hmm.
Maca
The
is really,
green
really
tea.
good. Yes. Cacao is like dark chocolate. I have that for antioxidants. What else? What else? What else? I don't know if I have, dude. I think honey's borderline a supplement, man. Honey is remarkable how good honey is for you. Other than that, man, I just try to mix in a lot of fruits and vegetables. I don't have any other proteins or supplements other than that, though. I take beta alanine, like pure beta alanine, before I train, just because it makes me feel like my skin's crawling, and I kind of like it before I weightlift. Not before I do jiu-jitsu, but before I weightlift and before I compete, because I like to put myself in the same like kind of preparedness as if I was going to do a big lift. I like to think of a jiu-jitsu as like a big lift because it prepares me to put my body through that. And I take just straight beta alanine before that, but I don't take any pre-workouts or anything like that. I think beta alanine is just like the part of the pre-workout that makes your skin crawl, and everything else is
Yeah.
like other stuff. I don't take a pre-workout. I just take beta alanine.
Yeah. I mean, it will give you some extra endurance, but the most of the effects that people feel is a bit of, the tingling, the skin crawl.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, it gives it. Okay. Well, it's not an illegal supplement from USADA. So I know that there's like a level of caffeine you can't have by USADA, right? Like USADA will be like, hey man, you have like a gram of caffeine in you right now. You need to.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around 500 or 600 milligrams, something like that. But that is essentially like slamming two bangs, which if you've ever slammed two bangs, like that's not a good day. Like you're all over the place.
For sure. I actually, what's funny is I used to have what I'm leaning off of it right now. I used to drink so many freaking energy drinks to keep myself going that before my fight with Hudson Mateos, I was so nervous. I didn't sleep the night before. And I was like, because it was that level of fight that I wasn't ready for yet. Like Lovato, I feel very good for because I've been in this situation and I understand, okay, nobody expects me to win. Like, let's be honest. Probably nobody expects me to really go out there and beat Lovato except me. So except for me and everybody at my team and maybe some people in Arizona who really like me. But other than that, I think a lot of jiu-jitsu world's like, oh man, Lovato is going to kill this kid. So that was the situation with Hudson. So I woke up, I drank a bang. In the afternoon, I had a Rain Body Fuel. And then right before the match, I shotgunned a Rockstar. And I was buzzing the whole day. Like I was so nervous. My heart was beating in my chest. And I went out there and I won, but I didn't go to bed until 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Because I was helping the team. I helped the Fight2Win team take down the stage, but I didn't need another anything. I was like wired. And it was not good for me at all. It was so bad for me.
So, all right. So again, appreciate the lead in. You're like the perfect guest. So we're going next is talking about your upcoming fight. So, let's say it's an hour before fight time. Talk us through from now until you walk on the mats.
So depending on where the venue is. Okay. So it's an hour until fight time. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. An hour until fight time. I'm pretty much, really, it's the only thing that changes is like 30 minutes until fight time.
Okay.
About 30 minutes until fight time, I go alone and I pray alone, away from people. And then I listen to worship music and I just think about where I am. I think about like what I did to get me here. I think about how grateful I am that Jesus Christ died for me so that I can experience the full glory of what I'm doing and who I'm following. I think about, I think about so many uplifting things that God has put in my life. And I use it as it's a reminder of, hey man, at the end of the day, you're doing exactly what you love. I was like, win, lose, or draw, what are you doing? You're spreading the gospel, and you're at win, lose, or draw, man, you're having these amazing experiences. And at the end of the day, you want to win, you can win. Go out there and do it then, And that's the kind of motivation that I truly, truly feel from the Holy Spirit every time I pray alone right before a fight. But 30 minutes, like up until 30 minutes, I'm joking with people. If Lovato wanted to come up and play checkers with me, he could. I'm really, really friendly with a lot of the people that I fight. And I think that it's not like I'm trying to get in their head or nothing like that. I actually just really enjoy meeting new people. And I feel like that's like a weird stigma that a lot of jiu-jitsu athletes don't really like. They don't like talking to people. Like Ronaldo will not even look at me. Like when I see him at a tournament and we're not fighting, he does not like me. And I'm like, it's kind of weird, but okay. We're not friends. I'm friends with you, but you're not friends with me. Or the other way around. But, I just think that, man, I'm relaxing. I'm doing everything that I wanted to do up until 30 minutes before the fight. I'm doing my normal day thing. But then once it's almost go time, I isolate myself and I listen to a lot of Lauren Daigle. Lauren Daigle is a beautiful singer and she sings worship music, and she has that song You Say. I listen to that and I'm walking out to that actually. But that's kind of what I do 30 minutes. I mean, leading, and that is the same kind of, doing the same thing that I would do every day is the same thing with my, my nutrition, with resting, I drink a lot of water every day. I drink about 1.5 gallons of water a day normally. So I keep on doing that. And I mean, really, I'm just in a good mood usually. So as far as my mindset goes, I'm just making sure that I'm not I'm not doing some stuff that makes me feel bad about myself or looking at awful things that are going to put me in a horrible mood. I'm just trying to keep myself positive, and I'll spend multiple times throughout the day praying. I study the Bible, so I also do that, and normal day stuff up until the fight.
Okay. So I have a question for you, because you've obviously competed on the biggest stages and lots of tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I've competed in, I don't know, 6-7 tournaments, something like that. And one of the things I find hardest is getting ready for the first match isn't that bad. But then you get up and then you come off and you have 7, 8, 10, 15 minutes. And so you cool off, and then you got to then get back up for the next one. And then you do the next one and then you cool off again and you go. How do you manage that up and down process and still perform at a high level?
That's a very interesting question. I've never really had to think about before. So in my experience, the first match is way harder than any of the other ones. Because you wait like a long time from the time that you signed up for the tournament until that match, and you're not guaranteed the second match. So in between, I think after every match, what I try to do immediately is I try to rehydrate. And I take you ever heard of Wim Hof breathing?
Yeah.
I've recently started doing that. And before the match, I'll do like the whole system of like the breathing in and out. But after the match, I just take deep breaths. I go to my coach and I have a conversation about how the fight went. And I have a conversation how the next fight's going to go. So that's how I get myself mindset prepared. I'm just like, okay, cool. That was awesome. That was good. What did I do bad? All right, cool. Let's avoid that. Okay. What did I do good? All right, cool. What is he doing? If I need to watch my opponent, what is he doing? Okay. I got to watch out for that. Because you're not like able to do a film study about your next opponent. You have to kind of gather information in that little pocket of time you have. Yeah. And then you just gather as much as you feel comfortable with. Like, okay, I'm good. But as far as like cooling off, I try to only cool off to a certain point. Like I take deep breaths. I keep on walking around, because if you sit down, like if you do like a heavy cardio set and then you sit down and then you have to run again, you're going to be like, oh. But if you do a heavy, like you're sprinting and then you know you have to go again, but you have like a 1 minute break, you're going to walk around and like, and you're going to keep your lungs healthy. So that's what I do after matches. I roll out my grips. If I did like a hard grip fight and my forearms are all hurting, I'll put my I'll bend. I'll have whoever I'm with, I'll have on their stomach. I'll bend my arm over their stomach so it stretches these out, and then they'll dig their fingers into it and roll them out. And when you stretch it, it opens them up, and then you just slowly just kind of get your grips back, like keep on opening them, shaking them out, open them, shaking them out. And you just try to put yourself back into like, okay, now I'm feeling really warmed up instead of dead tired, So I think that if you treat it like you need to actively recover because you're going to go again, instead of thinking, okay, rest, like, no, actively recover. If you actively recover instead of rest, then you're going to be ready for the second fight better. That's what I try to do. And it's worked for me a lot. I mean, I've had some one time I had like this, my first match was the hardest fight of the tournament. And my second match went really well because that first fight I wasn't warmed up right, but my second fight I was warmed up right. So I think that if anybody's listening who's ever struggled with that, that's what I do. And it helps me out a lot. But a lot of people have a lot of different things. I mean, Ronaldo is probably the most active guy in all of jiu-jitsu. And that guy sits down before every match and stays sitting before every match. So what works for him. What works for me works for me. I like doing it. I like doing it. my way.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That totally makes sense. All right. So, you talked about when you were younger, you basically wanted to be George St. Pierre and you wanted to do MMA, but then you kind of lost the love and were going through the motions.
Mhm.
What does the future hold for you? What path are you going to go down?
All right. So this is something I'm very passionate about, right? The OpenGuardCast is like, it started out as like a small idea with me and Danny O'Donnell, who I'm sure some of the people in Arizona are very familiar with. He's a man that co-hosts the OpenGuardCast with me, and he is a fantastic human being. Me and him were friends before, and then we kind of just spur of the moment decided, hey, let's start a podcast. And we're becoming best friends slowly over. I'm hanging out. I'm literally, after this interview is over, I'm going to his house and hanging out with him. It's so funny that we're talking about that, actually. But it's become this beautiful friendship, and we didn't expect the amount of love that we've been given by the OpenGuardCast, by the community. Like, people love the OpenGuardCast, and I love that they do. That's definitely going to be an amazing part of my future, is making that into more than just a podcast, into its own brand, letting that be something that we can use as a bright light in the community. But my big goals, man, as far as for Jake Watson, like the biggest goal and the biggest dream of mine is to be an actual echo of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people have this incredible perception that Christians are very judgmental, very awful people, because a lot of Christians in history have been very awful, judgmental people, right? But when I read the Bible and I see what Jesus says, I don't see it as rah, 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 you need to tell everybody they're bad. It's, hey, you're not that good, so why are you judging people? You need to fix yourself and spread this cure for every medicine. Like, if I told you, hey man, like, here's the cure for this medicine, do you want to take it? And you say no, I'm not going to go die then. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go, well, hey, why not? Like, this is really, it's going to help you. Like, why don't you want to take it? That was how relationships and friendships happen, man. I mean, I'm so bent on being a good, actual human being, not because I can, but because Jesus already did it, and Jesus already died for me so that I can, right? And I see a lot of people come up, or they say like, man, why do you believe in it? Why do you do this? Why do you take it so seriously? I love jiu-jitsu, man. I think that I'm put on this earth to do jiu-jitsu. And when I compete, of course I want to win, right? Of course I'm not saying that, winning and losing doesn't matter. It's something I very much enjoy, but I'm not going to think negatively about myself. I'm not going to let it get me down if I lose. I don't believe that that's where my identity lies. I think my identity lies quite literally in my faith in Jesus Christ. And I mean, dude, it changes lives. People have been talking to me on Instagram sometimes, saying that they found God and like they feel great, and they thank me for being an inspiration. But it's like, I'm just the messenger. I don't make the rules. I just follow them. I'm just the guy telling you about this guy, So that's my big goal, is to find different ways to be an example of that for people. So the OpenGuardCast, we are trying to build in a way that eventually will be able to sponsor athletes. So we want, obviously, the podcast to become self-sustaining so that we can keep on doing it. But we also want to be able to, hey, now we make money, like a surplus of what we need to keep this podcast going. Let's like build up. Let's slowly fundraise until boom, we can sponsor like somebody's tournament. Like, hey, this guy was able to compete because he couldn't afford it before. Hey, these guys don't have gis. Let's buy 3 gis and send them to this gym that doesn't have gis. Let's just slowly do movements and just say, hey, God bless you, love you. Like, here's a donation. We just wanted to give this to you. That's how movements get started. You know what I mean? If people weren't, getting religion shoved down their throat, and instead they were getting shown it, like, hey, here's an awesome thing you need. That's the relationship, man. It's the effect that God has had on me. And then eventually with the OpenGuardCast, we want to be able to have a lot of secret projects that I'll tell you about off air. But it's got to be a surprise, dude. It has to be. We can't. It's so cool that it can't be broadcast yet. And I want to also be able to commentate. Like, I'm commentating ADCC, something that I very much enjoy. It's something that I kept on enjoying from my high school. I wanted to be a news anchor. And when I left that, I was like, oh, that's still a hobby that I wish I could kind of like find a way to incorporate jiu-jitsu into. And
you
now I'm
did
going to
Third Coast a couple of months ago, right?
I did. They let me commentate, and a lot of people really liked it. Dude, people, I felt so bad because Third Coast got a lot of crap for like their commentators after I came on, and I didn't know how to. I don't like taking credit for stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because I felt like I'm like, oh, I'm just me. But like people messaged me were like, hey, why are you not always Third Coast commentator? And I was like, oh man, I don't know. That they're pretty cool, those guys, but they got a lot of flack for their poor commentary. And it's just like they have a lot of fun, and a lot of people don't know how to. Third Coast is like a party. I mean, Third Coast has the kids Royal Rumble. You know how much hate they got for that, bro?
Dude, I watched it. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I just know that like one kid was an arm bar, and then he like tapped to another kid who then jumped on him and threw the other kid like in a leg lock or something. It was crazy.
Hey, all of it was very controversial because people were like, what is this? This is very, very, it was not well received. And Ryan McGuire, I mean, dude, Ryan doesn't care. Ryan is the kind of guy that's like, I'm putting on a show. I'm giving these kids a fun time. And hey, all power to him. He hasn't done anything wrong with me. I told him, he was like, hey, what do you think about that? I was like, I didn't like it. And he was like, why didn't you like it? I was like, because I don't know. I'm used to jiu-jitsu tournaments being jiu-jitsu tournaments, not WWE fights. And it was, hey, he created a spectacle. He sold a show. I very much enjoy fighting for him. But I really want to commentate more. And I see myself being able to bridge the gap between jiu-jitsu and MMA as far as what media can interchange. I want to be one of those front runners in, hey, I commentated jiu-jitsu and MMA. Like I want to be able to commentate the UFC one day. And I truly believe that I'll be able to get to that point. But that's a big goal of mine too. That's like the end professional goal of my non-jiu-jitsu side. Like obviously I want to be a black belt world champion. I think I've established that I want to be a black belt world champion. I want to teach around the world. There's several places I dream of visiting and competing in, and I dream of teaching seminars in. So my professional career is pretty much the same as everybody's professional career in jiu-jitsu is I want to be a world champion. But as far as my professional off the mat career, I definitely see myself as a future commentator of a big MMA fight organization such as the UFC, being able to introduce the OpenGuardCast to more than just jiu-jitsu. I mean, we had Ben Henderson on, which was awesome, but I want to be able to get like John Anik on, and I want to be able to get Ariel Helwani on and people like that. So those are my two goals as far as on the mat, off the mat professionalism, and where I can take the OpenGuardCast.
All right, so definitely more big things coming from Jake Watson, right?
Well, we're hoping. Like I said, I can't control everything. I've been blessed to do everything I can and everything I have. But wherever I go, this is a big thing too. Wherever I go, the people who help me get there are going to come with. So it's not just me. The OpenGuardCast is not just me. The OpenGuardCast is 50-50 me and Danny. Like it's whenever people will say like, I love like Jake Watson's podcast. I'm like, it's not Jake Watson's podcast. It's our podcast, and like very, very important to me because I mean, we hear about it all the time in all businesses, right? Like people split and it's awful and gross. Danny and I are really, really working hard to have every idea organically come from each other and have a great deal of communication. And I'm really like, I don't think that it needs to be so uncommon for people to be able to do business together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Jake, where can people connect with you?
Jake at Jake Watson Official, all lowercase, no spaces. I used to be Jake Watson _ BJJ, but I'm not just a jiu-jitsu guy, I don't think. So I changed it to that. I don't have the blue check mark either, which is kind of upsetting. I've sent the verification request to Instagram like 7 times. I'm probably just going to use one of those definitely going to get hacked and all your identity stuff stolen websites that change your blue check mark for you.
There you go. Or I think it's also partly like if there's like fake websites of you, or fake Instagram accounts. So I'll just go create a bunch of fake Jake Watsons and then you'll get it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. That'd be great.
Awesome. So, all right. So Jake Watson Official on Instagram, right? The OpenGuardCast.
It's at OpenGuardCast, all lowercase, no capitals. I forgot. I only put Instagram. I only really use Instagram now. My Facebook, I don't really use. I deleted my Twitter and my Snapchat and a lot of other social media because it's been, I don't know. I don't need them anymore. And Man, yeah, I guess that's kind of where you can find me. I really want to do like a BJJ Fanatics or something like that. I would love to teach more. But my social security number is, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna say that. Come on now. He was ready for it though. You were like, oh, what is it? I've actually been waiting for it. But yeah, that's where you guys can follow the podcast. We're on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and a lot of other podcast platforms. If you can probably find us on a podcast platform. I made a big deal out of being on iHeartRadio too. So we're on iHeartRadio. But that's where we're at now. So we'll see if we also have a YouTube. I think I said that, but we do have a YouTube channel where we upload all the video podcasts too. So that's where you guys can find OpenGuardCast, which is going to be, we're having a lot of fun with that. So that's where you guys can follow that. But Jake Watson official.
All right, awesome. And then Fight to Win next weekend. What time?
Oof, I'm the co-main event. So it's Fight to Win on Friday, October 23rd. I am the co-main event versus Rafael Lovato Jr. So second to last fight of the event. I really don't know what time it's going to be. The times for Fight to Win have changed a lot. So it's going to be kind of late. Yeah. It might be a little earlier though, as well, because I know that the times for Fight to Win, they changed because of COVID. They have less fights. I think they have like 15 fights on the card instead of like 35 or 40 like they did before. But I'm not really sure what time exactly.
Okay, perfect. So Flow Grappling next weekend, next Friday. Cheer for Jake. We're going to see him come away with the W.
Oh man, I would love that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Jake.
Of course, man. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. I love what you do here. You're a very good interviewer, and we'll have to get you on the OpenGuardCast sometime too.
I'm all for it.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, Jake.
All right. Thank you.